Welcome to the SEGA Lounge, a podcast dedicated to our love for all things Sega, be it the games, the music, or the community. I'm KC. In each episode, I'll be talking to different guests and sharing their projects and their passion for Sega. Hello everyone, welcome to the SEGA Lounge. Fresh off our 7th anniversary special. Wait, what? You haven't listened to the anniversary special? Well, just pause this. Go back to episode 154. Listen to that and come back to this one. Oh, and if you picked a team, let me know how many points you scored in our quiz. At the SEGA Lounge on Twitter. Anyway, that was a really fun episode to do, and I know I promised a regular show this week, but you know how it is. Things change, and this is officially Virtua Fighter 5 Ultimate Showdown Week all over the Sega community. Thanks to Sega of America and our good friend Danny Russell, myself and a whole bunch of other community content creators got early access to the game a day before it launched, so it feels like it was a big community event with everyone streaming the game, talking about it online, playing together, and just having fun. I am personally so addicted to it that I thought it would be fun to just keep talking about it this week on the show. Maybe you're a massive fan of the Virtua Fighter series, and you're still on the fence about this new Ultimate Showdown version, or like me, you're a fighting game noob, but you've been wanting to hop on the hype train, but are unsure whether to do it or not. I am obviously totally unqualified to do a proper review of this game, so what I did was invite some friends over to the lounge this week, and we'll all be sharing our thoughts on the new Dragon Engine-based Virtua Fighter 5 Ultimate Showdown, which is for now exclusive to PS4 and 5. We talk about the graphics, the music, the gameplay, the online, and even the paid Legendary Pack DLC. I hope this is as entertaining as it is informative, and stick around because you might learn a thing or two. That said, we're also giving away 2 codes for Virtua Fighter 5 Ultimate Showdown and the Legendary Pack DLC, courtesy of our very generous friends at Sega. We've got one for our North American listeners and one for our European/PAL listeners. Listen until the end of the episode to find out how to take part. And now, it's time for our very special Virtua Fighter 5 Ultimate Showdown Roundtable with guests Ravsieg from Radio Sega, James Brown and Matt Oliver from Shenmue Dojo, and Blessy, tournament organizer over at the Virtua Fighter Global Showdown community. Welcome everyone. Welcome guys. So this week we have a very special episode of the Sega Lounge dedicated to Virtua Fighter 5 Ultimate Showdown. And I'll be honest, I'm a Virtua Fighter noob. And so I thought I need to surround myself with experts on the matter, with people who are far better at the game than me, who have a lot of knowledge about the series, and who are better players than me. That's not very difficult, but you know. So today we have a roundtable episode focusing on Virtua Fighter 5 Ultimate Showdown. So let's start with the people who have been on the show before. Let's start with Ravsieg. Hello, Ravsieg. How are you?
Hiyo. Everything's all right. How about you? How are you?
Not bad.
How's
Better
the
now.
weather over at sunny coastal Portugal?
Yeah, not that sunny today, to be honest.
Whoops.
I think it was better in the UK today. I think.
I wouldn't be that sure, but let's move on. Let's move
Okay.
on.
Okay, maybe not, but okay. But I'm better now that I'm recording with you, my friend. Yeah.
Oh.
Yeah, no, I'm lying. No, okay. Ravsieg, people know you from Radio Sega, right? And also as an expert Virtua Fighter player. Maybe.
I mean, maybe on the music side, on some of the lore side, but definitely not on the gameplay pop side. But sure,
Okay.
I'll take it. Thank you very much for that. Yeah,
Yeah, just go with it.
yeah. Let's go on. Yeah,
Yeah.
I'll take it.
Okay. We also have Matt Oliver from Shenmue Dojo. Hello, Matt.
Hey Casey,
Welcome.
how's it going? Thanks for having me again.
Yeah, excellent. Thank you for coming back, Matt from Shenmue Dojo. We've been, collaborating on several episodes of the show, so people know of you and of your website as well. Also a pro Virtua Fighter player, right? Say yes.
Pros pushing it. Like to think I'm a enthusiastic amateur.
Okay. and speaking of pros, we have James Brown from Shenmue Dojo
Okay.
as well.
Well, I don't know if you wanted to surround yourselves with experts, but if you're wanting an expert of button mashing, that'd be me probably with this round table episode. But yeah, hello everyone. How's everyone doing? The
Yeah.
UK has had nice weather today. I just wanted to make that point. Quite sunny,
Okay.
although
Okay.
in England fashion, it's ended with a little bit of rain just.
And finally, we have the true expert, I think, the true pro.
Definitely.
Definitely, right? Hello, Blessy. Welcome to the show.
Hello, thank you for having me.
Thank you very much for joining.
Maybe a little kind with the expert, but I'll take it for now.
Okay, so Blessy, you're the newcomer here, so you've never been on the show before, which is my fault. I apologize in advance to our listeners. So it's my pleasure to welcome you to the lounge. Finally, would you like to tell us a little bit about your history with Virtua Fighter and whatnot?
Yeah, of course. It's actually a fairly brief history with Virtua Fighter that I have. Obviously, I played a bit of VF2 on Saturn growing up, and I think I touched VF4 once or twice on PS2. But it actually wasn't until just over a year ago I started playing Final Showdown.
Okay.
I played that competitively for a while, became a TO for it, organized tournaments across Europe, and now NA and global events too. And here I am a few days after Ultimate Showdown comes out, grinding every day on rank mode.
How's that working for you?
Pretty well. I think the pre-release night, I ended up as top go in the world. It didn't last very long, unsurprisingly. And I've managed to end each night since as top go in Europe at least. So I'm quite pleased with that. I'll take it.
So, as I said, an expert. Good job.
Yeah, just like a couple of hours ago, I still saw your username at the top like 10, 15 in Europe. So you haven't gone all that down.
I'll
And
take that. Then.
you've got this podcast preventing you from fixing that. So you know who to blame.
Again,
I'll
yes.
send you an invoice after. Don't worry.
All right.
Yeah. Good. Great. Thank you, Ravsieg. That'll be all. You can go now, Ravsieg.
See you guys. It was a pleasure. Thank you for having me here.
Excellent. So, by the way, let's keep it going. Rav, would you like to share your own experiences with Virtua Fighter? Obviously, a big important series for you.
All right. So this is gonna be like 180 turn from joking around to seriousness now. I'd just like to make clear that I have absolutely no inside info about any of this whatsoever, and what I'm saying is purely a reflection of my own personal hopes as a fan. Virtua Fighter is probably the most legendary not even fighting game series. I'm gonna say even any franchise ever to me. Growing up, it was the stuff of my dreams. I've already told you this, and I've already said it somewhere else, but there isn't a lot of listener overlap, so I might as well just go for it again. So that
Sure.
there was this TV show on weekends when I was like 8, 9 that focused on having people play video games against each other. And the final would usually be down to a best of 9 rounder on Virtua Fighter 2. And I would always be glued every single weekend to my TV and feeling like this is the stuff of dreams. This is really what I want. This is like a dream. And
But by the way, Rav,
yeah,
just a quick side note for all of our other guests here and for our UK listeners, what Rav's referring to is to the Portuguese weirder version of Games Master called Cybermaster. I wouldn't call it a version of Games Master, but I think it's the thing that you guys had in the UK that's
Does it still have
most
Patrick Moore?
is
Patrick Moore's
closer?
floating head.
There
had
was a floating
head.
head, yeah.
Yes,
Was there?
yes,
Okay.
yes.
It was an
It-
old man who wanted to eat children, and I'm not joking.
Exactly.
But it was the 90s, so everything stuck.
So just
Yeah.
directly inspired by the Games Master then.
yeah,
Very good.
probably.
Yes. No, it
Even
definitely was.
weirder. Even weirder.
It
Yeah.
wasn't just that show. It was really the entire marketing plans and stuff around the Saturn. But I digress. So I spent years, like a couple of years, dreaming with Virtua Fighter, and eventually I had it, and I never looked back. I am still not that much of a player per se, but I do appreciate pretty much every single bit of trivia there is about the game.
Excellent. Very good. What about you, Matt?
Mine's slightly different in that I first got exposed to it when we got the Sega Saturn. It came with Virtua Fighter 2. So it was my first sort of real experience with a 3D fighter. And I remember being a kid, sort of being blown away by it. The first experience of a 3D fighter, it was silky smooth. How they got that thing running on a Sega Saturn, I'll never know. And I was just in awe of it. And as a kid, you button mash away, don't you? And you find out very, very quickly that Virtua Fighter is not the game to be doing that on. So you start practicing. And I just got into it. I got into the systems. I got into playing all the different characters. I went through sort of Virtua Fighter 3 in the arcades when we could get them over here. And then I picked up Virtua Fighter 4 and played that on the PlayStation 2, which is a little bit of blasphemy in some respects because I know it was going to come on the Dreamcast. And then, I picked up 5 on PlayStation 3 as a release title and haven't looked back. And the last time before Ultimate Showdown came up, I played it was a few years back. Like a lot of people, I think I got lost a little bit with it, but then Ultimate Showdown sort of pulled me back in. So yeah, a very brief history of sort of me picking up Virtua Fighter.
Okay. If you had to pick one as your favorite, which one would it be?
It's Virtua Fighter 2 every day of the week.
The first one. Okay.
Wow.
The first one that you played.
Yeah, the first one that I played, yeah.
Yeah. Okay. Excellent. James, what about you? Want to share?
Yeah, well, I mean, I got, for some reason, it was like a strange bundle when I picked up my Sega Saturn. I think I must have got my Saturn a year or two after launch because the price had just dropped and they were bundling in like loads of games. But for some reason, this bundle came with 1 and 2, Virtua Fighter 1 and 2. So I got to play both and experience both of those games, on day one of owning a Sega Saturn. And to be honest, I kind of preferred, actually. I've heard people say it's a bit of a bad port to the Saturn, the first game, but I quite like the simplistic nature of it. It looks like virtual racing style with the blocky polygon textures and that kind of environments. And, obviously there's nothing really going on in the arenas and stuff, but I quite like the simplistic nature of that. And, perhaps Virtua Fighter 2 took it to the next level in terms of combinations and buttons and that sort of stuff. Perhaps that as a child, like Matt was saying, he's ended up being a bit of a button basher kind of a player, and I've kind of continued to be a button basher in terms of fighters. To be honest, I don't really play online when I play my fighters until today. But going from the Saturn, I got Virtua Fighter 3 with my launch Dreamcast on day one, and didn't really get fully invested in Virtua Fighter 3 because I had my eyes on other titles like Sonic Adventure and the other Power Stone, those sort of games that came out release. And then I completely missed Virtua Fighter 4 because I was a bit sore from Sony and the PlayStation 2 after the Dreamcast. So I went original Xbox 360 and picked up Virtua Fighter 5, and it's only probably whenever The Last of Us came out is when I got PS3, and then that kind of got me into Sony's infrastructure, and I kind of went back and got a PlayStation 2 and started collecting Sega titles for the PS2 at that point, and that's why I've got Virtua Fighter 4 and Evolution. So I own pretty much all of the mainline games in the series, and I think it's crazy actually that Virtua Fighter 5 was released in 2006, I believe, and it's the same amount of time, 15 years from then till today, that we waited for Shenmue 3 after Shenmue 2. So that kind of puts it into perspective, like how long Virtua Fighter 5 has actually been, in existence. And it's just great to be able to get a brand new. I know it's still called Virtua Fighter 5 Ultimate Showdown, but it just feels like a brand new game to me, which obviously we'll get to when we start discussing that. But yeah, that's kind of my history with the series.
Yeah, and you were showing on stream on Monday. You have a nice collection of Virtua Fighter games, and not just games, right? You have a lot of
I got
extras.
the CG Portrait series, the computer generated artwork that they kind of released, I think in the sort of Virtua Fighter 2 era. And just being a massive Shenmue fan, obviously, Shenmue Dojo, of course, a lot of the artwork on those discs, you can kind of you can see Shenmue elements in them. Like I was talking about the Akira disc, there's some artwork on the Akira CG Portrait disc that, he's in white t-shirt, jeans, he's got armbands on, he's holding a green backpack, he's at Yokosuka Harbor. Well, it looks like the harbor from Yokosuka. And you just get a sense that Yu Suzuki was planning Shenmue at this point of Virtua Fighter 2 when he was doing his China research trips to get information on some of the locations and stuff. I think he went to China basically just to see actual martial artists and try and incorporate those fighting styles into his game. He wanted the most realistic martial arts fighting game to exist. That's Yu Suzuki's nature, really. So you can kind of see remnants of Shenmue in those artworks, I believe, anyway.
Excellent. Yeah. Okay, that's a nice roundup of experiences. As for mine, I don't really have that much of an experience with the series. I think the first game that I played, the one that I played for the first time was Virtua Fighter 5 Final Showdown, I think, on the PS3. And then I actually played, because I didn't have any fighting games prior to that. So I think I played Virtua Fighter 2 on some of the Yakuza games in the arcades. I now have an Astro City Mini. And before we started recording this, I was playing Virtua Fighter, the first one, on the Astro City Mini. So that's an experience as well. But Virtua Fighter 5 Final Showdown was probably my first proper experience with the game. I'm not a big fighting game fan, but I have to say, Ultimate Showdown, I was actually mentioning this to Rav a while ago. I'm not sure if it's all the hype surrounding the game, if it's the fact that we all, as a community, got together around this new game, the pre-release stuff. I'm not sure what it is, but I'm kind of hooked now, and I'm trying to improve.
It kind of come out of nowhere, didn't it? Coming probably about 2 weeks ago. We only really knew of that weird teaser they did. Was it Sega Fairs or whatever? And then since then we've had nothing. And then suddenly 2 weeks ago they're saying, it's going to be released now.
Yeah.
So it's, I think, like you say, with the hype.
Yeah, probably.
You know what? They say that people get better tastes as they get older, so that's what it is as well.
It's like fine wine.
Yes.
Just another opportunity to call me old. Yes, I know.
You know I never miss one.
Okay. Yeah, but I'm finding it interesting. What I think happened as well is I never do this with any kind of game unless absolutely necessary. But before I actually started playing the game, the first thing that I did was to check out the tutorial. And so I learned a few things about Virtua Fighter that I never knew. And so that helped a little bit in understanding some of the mechanics as well. But I'm still a noob, so yeah, nothing major. But I'm enjoying it very much.
Casey, actually, I did the tutorial things, and I learned like the evade and blocking.
Yeah.
Like I know you're supposed to block in Virtua Fighter games, but the tutorials actually, it's really good to just remind you those things.
Mechanics, yeah.
Yeah.
Definitely. Okay, so I think all of us here, and big thanks to Danny Russell and Sega for providing us all with the codes for the game before it was actually released to the general public. So I think we all got preview access, so to speak, to the game at least a day earlier. So we had an extra day to spend playing the game, experience the whole online thing and stuff. So what I wanted to do now is to share our thoughts with the listeners about what we are, how we're experiencing this game, how we are feeling it, how it compares with Final Showdown, with your own expectations towards the game as well. So let's start maybe with, I don't know, with the graphics perhaps, which I think is probably the biggest change perhaps to the whole um, Ultimate Showdown versus Final Showdown thing. This is using the Dragon engine that we all know from the Yakuza games. So thoughts on the graphics on this version? I've heard mixed reactions, to be honest, mostly positive, but some mixed reactions as well. What do you guys think? Who wants to go first?
I'll go first. If that's all right, Casey.
Yep.
I mean, my view overall is actually graphically it looks really, really good. I know there's been some sort of feedback around certain character models, etc. But I think the environments look absolutely stunning. When you compare them to Final Showdown, the level of detail that's in there. This sounds really sort of nitpicky from me, but when you're on one of the stages where you've got sand, all the sand flicks up as you're kicking, as you're moving, as you're punching. And I just find that's a sort of detail that I think I really, really like in Ultimate Showdown, which Final Showdown sort of does, but you can see it's limited in the way it presents itself because obviously it's on older hardware. And I just think graphically, I have no complaints at all. It captures that sort of AM2 feel, but in a new engine, and that for me is testament to the work that's gone into it.
Great.
Yeah, I mean, following on from that, I mean, I think you said it best, Matt, the other night. It's night and day really from Final Showdown, and I just, to be honest, I haven't heard the negativity on the graphics, to be honest, because maybe it's me. I don't get time to play many games these days, but I thought it looked phenomenal. Really, I thought from what I played of Final Showdown the night before, and then seeing Ultimate Showdown, just the environments just blew me away, really. And I think the models look fine. I don't see any problem with that. My personal opinion is they could quite easily, just based on the graphics, they could have slapped a 6 next to this, and I think I would have been sold that this is Virtua Fighter 6 graphically. Obviously, if the engine's the same, well, not the same engine, Dragon engine, but I mean like the actual gameplay, if that's exactly the same to Final Showdown, I can see why they didn't do a 6. And obviously, the environments are just remodeled, aren't they? Virtually, from Final Showdown, they've took the same arenas and redone them. They haven't added any extra arenas, as far as I'm aware.
Yeah, there's no new one, no.
Yeah, but so yeah, I mean, to me, it feels like a new game, bizarrely, even though it isn't. Just the fresh coat of paint. When you're playing it, it just makes you feel like you're playing a new game. To me,
Yeah.
in the series.
Blessy, any thoughts on this?
I really do like the graphics. I think it's an upgrade in almost every way. The character models look really nice. The only graphical complaint I have comes from its difference to Final Showdown, and obviously there's not really a lot of flashiness in a lot of Virtua Fighter games in terms of graphical fidelity, but counter hits in Final Showdown were yellow, and now they're red. And all of a sudden, I've had to change my entire game plan in terms of competitive play. It's a little bit to adjust to, but that is such a tiny nitpick for what is realistically an incredible graphical overhaul. And it really does light the game up. I'm really, really, really happy with it.
Yeah. That's a good point, though. That's a good point. Okay, Rav.
It's kind of a mixed bag for me because, in one hand, I mean, quality-wise, of course, there is a huge improvement, and it looks gorgeous. And every single new stage and every single new character model, all of it looks amazing. It doesn't look dated at all. Like you would imagine that the game that is essentially given away free would be some cut corners somewhere, but definitely not on the graphic side because it looks great. But on the other hand, I'm also a bit sad that the customization options are about like 20% of what they were on Final Showdown. And also, the graphics on Final Showdown were a work of art on their own way. I mean, if you put them side by side and on a purely overall quality perspective, then of course Ultimate Showdown is going to be much better. But Final Showdown graphics had their own charm. I mean, I'm not sure if I will be able to explain myself, but it feels like they did
maybe
extremely well.
the way they went around the limitations of the hardware.
That's exactly what I was
right?
going to say. Essentially, they actually played to the hardware's strengths and made it look timeless. Like the game is over 10 years old now, and the only way you notice that those graphics are not really up to today's standards is if you put it side by side with something new, because if you look at it, it still looks stunning. It doesn't look old. So I miss that kind of feeling that Virtua Fighter has always given through its existence, which is it's always at the top of its game on the technical side and on a visual side. So it doesn't have all those fireworks that other fighting game series do, like Tekken, with all those gimmicks where gameplay slows down when the round is about to end and there's particles everywhere. Which brings me to another thing that I was slightly disappointed with. There are tons of particles and sparkles and stuff flying around in Virtua Fighter 5 Ultimate Showdown. Like every single hit, there's like it's like a flame, and that makes me slightly sad because the realism, the fact that there was nothing of the sort, or I mean, of course, there was something like those counter indicators that Blessy talked about, but they were much more subtle. So you didn't really feel that kind of. I mean, it feels a bit artificial. And Virtua Fighter's essence was to be extremely like natural, to feel realistic. So they went against the series core a bit in that aspect. But then again, I guess it's 2021, so they really have to do something to try to make it popular.
So you'd prefer like something a little more realistic, with the better graphics, but not that flashy. Perhaps.
Yeah, without those artificial artifacts to make it flashier. Yeah.
Okay, excellent. Good. You were mentioning something important that I've seen other people complain about. So there's less customization, at least for now. We don't know if there's any plans to add any new DLC.
True.
Right. So we all got the game with the legendary DLC that is people can get as an add-on to the base game. But other than that, people complain that Final Showdown had a lot more things to customize, so more accessories and stuff.
I'd be surprised if we didn't get an extra DLC pack with RGG involved for like Kiryu, and it just I'd love to see what happened for them to be involved with this title, because like I said, up until about 2 weeks ago, I don't think we were expecting to get such an overhaul that we did end up getting with the Dragon Engine and all that sort of stuff. So I'd love to know what actually happened, if that was always the plan, if they were always going to take this on and update the graphics and the engine and whatnot. But I think with them involved, there's room there for DLC at least, and with their own sort of characters, and perhaps even the I forget his name, the guy from Judgment as well.
Yeah.
Oh, Yagami.
Probably Yagami. Probably a Judgment 2, not
Tie-in,
Judgment 2,
yeah.
Lost Judgment tie-in, right? Maybe. I would think so. Yeah, and maybe even a Sonic costume of sorts for the 30th.
What, like the Tokyo
anniversary?
Olympics?
Sonic
I don't know.
Man.
Sonic Man, finally, yes.
Just
I mean,
Akira in a Sonic outfit.
They're
Exactly.
pushing that really hard, aren't they, with Sonic at the moment? So you never know. I mean, Sonic Fighters is in Lost Judgment, isn't it?
Why not? Yeah.
Yes,
So
yes,
why
that's true.
not? So it could
That's a good point.
instantly happen. And
So we could see Bean
Yes,
throwing bombs around and
Bark the polar bear, Takarashi being in a Bark the polar bear costume or something.
You could kinda see that kind of stuff on Fighters Megamix. You sure could see other characters beating Bark, like Jackie and Sarah and stuff.
Yeah, but my question was, is the lack of customization related to the whole esports nature of this game, or is that not an excuse for that?
That is very likely. I mean, I'd say that's probably half that, half the fact that the game is free, so to say. So, I mean, I'm not an insider, so it's not like I can swear or I can promise that what I'm saying is right. But I mean, a game that is given away for free on PS Plus cannot really have a lot of high expectations when it comes to its profit, right? So it makes sense that they might have not focused on that. They
Yeah,
might be.
probably. Yeah,
Uh,
Blessy.
I think there's some. I think that's definitely part of it, but I think development time really comes into it too. I mean,
Oh, definitely, yeah.
I've been. I mean, Rav, you've seen some of my costumes in Final Showdown.
And you've seen mine.
Indeed, I've gone very in depth with that costume editor. So I noticed immediately when there was as much missing as there was. But I think for a game that's had a 14-month development period, where they've remade the entire game in a new engine with a graphical overhaul, and remembering that they then have to redesign and re-render every single customization item individually, I can kind of see why it took a backseat in comparison to making sure they had everything on. Because I know they wanted to release it later. I remember reading an interview with Aoki, the game's director, that they did want to release it later, but obviously SEGA 60th. They want to release it in line with that instead. So it is a shame, but I think we will see more in terms of customization. It's kind of been hinted at almost in the way that the day one DLC included customization items. So I think we will see something more from it. It is a shame.
Yeah.
I guess they've bought themselves a little bit of time though, really, with potential DLC packs because they've obviously got a plan for the tournament mode, which isn't actually out yet. So obviously, with each new tournament season, they can probably bang in a few more of some of the old things if they're remodeling things bit by bit.
Mhm.
I-
Yeah.
I'll just quickly add that you can actually already have tournaments, but they've
Okay.
got to be on player rooms. The ones that are not
Yeah.
available yet are the ranked ones where you are matched against random people for
okay,
cookies.
cookies.
Yeah, but yeah, cookies.
Hungry.
Yeah, probably the idea of seasons probably makes sense. Yeah, getting new stuff for new seasons, maybe.
I think as well, I'm sort of picking up what Blessy was saying about the development cycle. It's a basis, isn't it? Getting it running in the Dragon engine. It makes sense to put the customization on the back burner a little bit because it feels like a little bit of a testing the waters. This does. If this takes off, is this successful? Then will we see a Virtua Fighter 6? I mean, that's the big question, isn't it? But sort of going back onto the point of customization itself. I mean, it is noticeable. I will say that, but so I'm not somebody who delves in too deep into the customization stuff. It's just personal interest. It just doesn't pique my interest. So for me, it was like, oh, it's nice. There's not what there was before, but I'm not too bothered about it. But I know, sort of from playing online, there's quite a lot of people who will heavily customize their characters and will feel probably a little shortchanged by it. But then it is a free game on PlayStation Plus.
Yeah.
So you sort of balance that out and think, actually, to be fair, if that's the trade-off to get the game into more home or as many homes as possible, especially because it's basically a relaunch for the franchise, then I think it's a better move to have it on PlayStation Plus for free and sacrifice those customization options, but have that window for extra characters, extra items, etc. through DLC. And that's the beauty now of obviously modern gaming, that they can do that.
I have to say, I had a lot of fun creating a Goku Lei. So interesting stuff. The customization in this game, even if it's I never delved into that in the previous one. So I'm having fun at least. Hopefully, other people are too, and hopefully we'll get more of that in the future. By the way, you guys touch on a very important thing, I think. What do you think about this decision of making this available for free, like for PS Plus users? Um, what's the whole idea behind it? Is it to make the game more available to everyone, to spread the Virtua Fighter 5 love and make it more accessible to people? What do you think is the idea behind this? Test the waters for 6? Thoughts?
Yeah, I would say it's there to test the waters for 6. I mean, the idea as well is, with I don't know how many millions of people have signed up to PlayStation Plus, but how many people download each game every month and give these games a go? I mean, I know I do, and I know through having sort of Gamer Pass on my PC as well, that there's games on there that I wouldn't necessarily buy, but because they're on Gamer Pass, I will try them. So I think there's that principle there to encourage people to give this game a go. You might like it, and I think from a business perspective, they're hoping that. And I mean, I'm no insider. I don't know. I'm just guessing here that they're hoping that they can pick up some more interest in the franchise through this and having it accessible through PlayStation Plus. And they are pushing that heavily. Sony are on their social media, so they're running with it as much as they can. So I think, personally, I think it's a good move.
Yeah, I think that's the barrier of entry, really, isn't it? If it's free, people are going to get it because Virtua Fighters, it's not really been at the forefront of these Dead or Alives or Tekkens or Mortal Kombats that you see people playing. Virtua Fighter is probably a little bit in the in the dust of those sort of franchises these days. So I think they've probably thought of this as a good move to get people playing Virtua Fighter again. I mean, its Twitter feed at the moment is it's all Virtua Fighter. I don't know if that's just because I'm subscribed to so many Sega outlets, but it's just great to see so much Virtua Fighter love at the moment. And I think, in addition to it being free, I just think that it's probably because of the esports mentality that they've got behind this. They need to get as many players as they can. If they've got the player base from the get go, then surely the tournaments and the esports competitions that they plan in the future is easy because everyone's got it. It's been free, and you need PS Plus to play online. So gamers that do play online on the PlayStation just press one button and they've got Virtua Fighter 5 Ultimate Showdown. It seems like a good tactic, really, in that sense.
Yep.
I think it can come down to two things, at least the way that I've thought about it. The first being, last I checked, PlayStation Plus has a subscriber base of 47.5 million people. And for the past year, I've been running tournaments and playing with, on average, 11 people in a tournament. In the tournaments I've been running, and we've been raising prize pools of $500 and streaming to hundreds of people, but that's still the amount of people we have in tournament. Whereas we are doing a beginners tournament in North America on Friday, and before the game was even out, we'd filled up a 32-person bracket. So it's obviously working in terms of getting people out there and increasing the player base. But the other part of me thinks that Sony has maybe had a deeper involvement with it being a PlayStation Plus exclusive on release. So that does make me think that Sony have obviously thrown some money towards Sega or helped maybe fund this project itself.
I do think they'd get a little bit of a backlash if they did charge for it as well, while maintaining the name of Virtua Fighter 5, because obviously it's a 15-year-old game. You'll get that new sort of player mentality, like, why am I going to pay for the game again? Or, why should I pay for an old game? It's just one of those things that you automatically think of because the 5's still in the title. So given it for free, I haven't seen much negativity really from my own personal perspective. I mean, the only thing I have seen is someone commenting on Akira's nose. That's
Yeah.
You know what? I wish I was half as brilliant as the genius who came up with this marketing idea. I'm not sure if it's a director or whoever it was, but I think
Give this man a raise.
it was just brilliant to make this, because let's be honest, if they came out with a Virtua Fighter 6 out of the blue, it would take some serious marketing miracles to get it to a point where it could seriously compete with series that have been mentioned before. That Virtua Fighter used to be much bigger than, or even older, and is older than, but well, has been essentially just forgotten while those are still going wild. Um, so these, and then these, don't quote me on these. I have no idea about it. It's just my own personal feeling. Um, this feels a lot more like a marketing ploy. Of course, there's the esports element involved as well, but it feels like an elaborate and complex marketing ploy to bring attention back to the franchise and to test the waters to see if there's interest on a Virtua Fighter 6.
Yeah, definitely. I would
Yep.
agree with that all day.
a very
I
good
mean,
point.
and
Yeah.
actually, I'm sure there was an interview floating around the internet today with one of the people who worked on the game, one of the producers or something. I can't remember his name. He's basically saying that there's no immediate plans for Virtua Fighter 6, but this is almost. He pretty much said this is the opportunity that if this takes off, to get it. And I'm picking up on Blessy's point. Actually, what sort of makes me wonder a little bit is why now? Why have Sega pulled the trigger now? If have Sony put money in, as Blessy has said, has that tipped the balance? What was stopping Sega in the past, and what's changed now to make it viable? That's a question that I think we've all sort of got in our minds.
Yeah.
That's a
I
very good
think that
question.
there's something to do with that. Yeah, I think so. Also, Sony's not behind, but like one of the main sponsors of Evo, right?
Yeah,
They own Evo now.
They own.
they bought
Okay,
Yeah,
it.
they
they own
bought
it now.
Evo.
So, is that related to this as well?
This
Mm,
game isn't at Evo. The game list was released for Evo a couple of days ago. However, Ultima Shonen is not listed as being there,
okay.
which a lot of people thought might have been the case.
Mm-hmm.
But so far, there has been no word on that, especially
Okay.
because the tournament mode's not out yet and things like that. So I think we'll have to wait
Yeah.
and see.
Okay. Could be. Could be.
Is that because it's
Okay.
just so new, or
Partially, I mean, Sony basically bought the FGC when Street Fighter V became a PlayStation 4 exclusive, because before that, if you go like back to the generation of 360 and PS3, the FGC was on 360. The 360 had better online infrastructure. It was a better system to run fighting games on, to run tournaments on. But when Sony made Street Fighter 4 a PlayStation exclusive, the entire FGC moved to PlayStation. And so now we're seeing Street Fighter 6, which is not going to be a PlayStation exclusive. And I can see Sony looking around and being like, well, we need an exclusive for this generation. We need to make sure we keep the FGC on that. They're already heavily investing in it. They bought Evo. So I can see good reason for them to invest in a game like Virtua Fighter, and it's within their interests. Not necessarily the player's interest, but it's definitely within Sony's interest to make it a PlayStation specific franchise.
Mm-hmm.
This is a bit unrelated to it, like only partially related, but I am 95% sure that Evo has announced games for that year that hadn't been released at the point of the announcement. I am pretty sure. So that wouldn't have stopped this in this case.
No, you're correct. Yeah. Um,
Mm-hmm.
if this game was meant to be Evo, it would have been. So I'm a little unsure on why it's not, and especially regarding its PlayStation Plus exclusivity. I remember seeing that it was going to be free for 2 months on PlayStation Plus, and I think that's changed to 1 month now, because it was actually originally free up until the start of Evo. So I don't know if there was a last minute change of plans there regarding its representation in Evo
Has
or
that been confirmed
not.
already?
The 2 months or the 1 month exclusivity?
Either.
I think it's confirmed to 1 month now. I'd have to check on
Okay.
the Sony website, but I do remember
Okay.
seeing it as a 2 months, so there was a lot of speculation around it, but that
Mhm.
seems to not be the case anymore.
Mm-hmm.
Also, marketing wise, Virtua Fighter now is kind of naturally just in that sort of push with Sega 60th, Sonic's 30th anniversary. These big milestones for Sega, timing wise, Virtua Fighter being now bringing back such an old beloved franchise. Now it's just kind of like in that pie of marketing that Sega are just doing at the moment as well, which is going to be beneficial to the series.
I think this is what Sega have been doing with their franchises. This is not new. If it's, I agree with the whole testing the waters for Virtua Fighter 6. They've been doing this with other games, even with the Yakuza series. They tried Yakuza 0, saw how that went, and then they decided to release the whole thing, the whole series in the West. Now we have like worldwide releases for the games going forward in the Yakuza Judgment series. So that was a successful test, right? And
So
I
do you
think
think
they're
they're taking that model and trying it out
yeah,
with other things? Yeah.
probably. We've seen a resurgence of many older Sega franchises, and even not just developed games developed by Sega now. They are probably using other people like fans or other developers who like the games and who know the series to come up with sequels or remasters or stuff. So maybe it's in line on their policy with older franchises. And the whole shareholders presentation that we saw online a couple of weeks ago, they were trying to bring back some older franchises. I think it's all part of the plan. Yeah, I
Yeah,
agree.
I'd agree with that. I mean, as well, if Sony or whoever are putting money into this, it sort of fits in with Sega's strategy. It's almost low risk, isn't it? If there's funding coming in externally as well, Sega
Yeah.
aren't having to foot the bill for the entire development cycle.
Yeah.
So they can test the waters without taking too much of a hit. Because at the end of the day, it is a business.
Especially if it's just a timed exclusive, which it probably is as well.
Yeah, I mean, there's those rumors. I saw some rumors floating around. I think it was yesterday about it potentially coming to Xbox in 3 months or something. It's all unconfirmed at this stage, isn't it?
Yeah,
But
yeah.
It's relatively low risk, isn't it? With Sega, obviously they've outsourced games like Shenmue, Panzer Dragon, Streets of Rage 4, because for them they license it out, they get a licensing fee, and it's job done. And if the game's successful, then they might consider picking it back up and internally. So it just fits in, doesn't it, with the whole wider strategy? I mean, Sega, as you say, has sat on this bank of IPs that are absolute classics, and they've done not a huge amount with them, but slowly but surely they're starting to sort of creak the door open to these older franchises and are dipping their toes in a bit. And I think this is a prime example of that as well.
Yep. Okay. This week, the Sega Lounge is sponsored by the Sega Lounge. From now until the 20th of June, get 15% off all lounge merch from our store using the promo code TSL7. That's TSL7 for 15% off all the Sega Lounge merch from our store. Head over to thesegalounge.com/store and use the code at checkout. So let's move on and talk about other facets of the game, right? So I think the most important one, obviously, there was a big graphic overhaul, but let's talk about the gameplay. So, and maybe tie it in with the online experience, which I think is the biggest. Not many people, I think, are getting this game on PS Plus and just playing offline all the time. So the online, and obviously it's called esports in Japan. So the online experience is kind of the big thing here to for people playing this game. So how would you guys rate this when compared to Final Showdown, to other games in the series that you enjoyed?
You know what? Like, Blessy can possibly discredit me here, but when I first tried the game, I went into practice mode and picked the character that I am most comfortable with, and just started doing random stuff to try to get a feel for it. And honestly, it felt literally 100% like a Final Showdown. Like the timings to roll, the timings to dodge and evade, like the bounces, every single thing, like distances and all. I mean, I cannot come to you with any kind of data, because, well, that's not my area of expertise anyway. I just feel things, and could tell you that it felt exactly the same, and to this day it still feels to me that, like, that I am playing the same game. I barely even notice that this is not Final Showdown when I am playing, because I get into that zone and it's literally the same thing.
Don't worry,
And
Rav, I can back you up. You're correct.
that's great to hear.
I guess that's why they left the 5 in the title then.
In the Showdown.
Yeah.
It is entirely Final Showdown.
Yeah.
In terms of the mechanics of the game, there seems to be something slightly different with the physics engine and the Dragon engine, but it's not enough to actually affect the combos that will or will not work. There is a slight discrepancy in the way characters float, but the game feels identical.
Mhm.
And
Yeah.
there are actually huge differences. You mentioned the 5 in the title, but I'll tell you that there are characters that change massively between 5 and 5 Final Showdown, like Leon, for example.
Mm-hmm. Eileen was top tier in vanilla.
Whoops, that was
Yeah.
quite the crash there.
Yeah, down to bottom tier. Oh no, what a shame. I feel so bad.
I feel you. I totally feel you. So annoying to play her. Anyways,
Yeah.
okay, your
What about
opinions.
the
Yep.
online, by the way? There were some concerns with the netcode. Apparently, the concerns were valid because
Yeah.
By the way, that would be something important maybe for people listening to us who are maybe just getting into Virtua Fighter. Maybe I don't know. Maybe Blessy could
Mm-hmm.
help us out in understanding exactly what the concerns and what the
Yeah.
importance of the netcode is.
Okay, so when we played Final Showdown, and I know me and Rav have played online before, Final Showdown is very much entirely delay based, and there is a big difference between playing it on PS3 and playing it on Xbox as well. That was due to the infrastructure on PS3 as a free service compared to Xbox Live, which was paid for at the time. So the issue people are having at the moment is a lack of consistency. What it looks like they're using is a relay system. So they have relay servers all around the globe to kind of prevent as much delay in the online as physically possible. And while in theory this is very good, due to the positioning of relay servers, it means that connections are not consistent throughout the world. So for me personally, on pre-release day, the day that I was playing online, I was playing with people in Japan, I was playing with people in America, and I was getting very good connections, and I still do for the most part. Whereas if someone was in, say, South America, where there aren't an abundance of these relay servers, it's almost unplayable for them. So there is a very large discrepancy. And so when people are saying, oh, the netcode's great, or some people are saying the netcode's awful, neither of them are inherently wrong because of how varied it is across the different aspects of it.
Mhm.
It's definitely an improvement for me personally. Playing with people from Japan is something I definitely wasn't able to do in Final Showdown, at least not with a good, reasonable connection. So it is a step up, but a lot of people within the FGC were wanting rollback. Um, I think what they have implemented now could work, but I think it needs some fine tuning.
To be honest, I feel it was unrealistic from the start to expect rollback on a 3D
Definitely.
game like this that's coming out
Mm-hmm.
for free on PS Plus. So I don't really get why people complain, especially when it's apparently extremely expensive. Like I've seen this on the internet somewhere, but it's like extremely expensive for rollback to be implemented in a 3D game.
Yeah, so to implement rollback into a game, rollback in Japanese fighting games is very rare. A lot of developers are only just getting around to it. And that's the problem. Like, there are very few developers who are hands on with the game. So you need a developer that understands rollback, that works for Sega, a company that hasn't released a fighting game in 10 years. And need to implement it into an engine that they'd have to know about. So they'd have to be very familiar with the Dragon engine. They'd have to have complete knowledge of rollback and how to implement it on a wide scale in a fighting game. And Sega just don't have that. I know that outside of Japan, Sega had support from Microsoft with the Phantasy Star Online servers. So, and you're not going to see people coming from, say, SNK who do have rollback in their games and going to Sega and helping them out, because why would you give up the edge you have over your competitor? It wouldn't make any sense. So, rollback was unrealistic for this game to begin with. I was very aware of this from the start. I do understand why people are asking for it, though, because it's at a point where in the FGC, in terms of competitive play, it does need to be a bare minimum at this point. What they've done is very good, but it's not consistent. That's the main issue that people are having.
Just because I'm the idiot in the room, so to speak, what's the difference in having rollback to what we've got currently?
Okay, so delay-based netcode, when you're sending packets of information between players, if there was a discrepancy in how quick the packets were getting, when a game stutters when you're playing online, that's delay-based netcode. So you'll have that stutter while the game is like catching up on making sure that the packets of information are received.
Yeah.
Whereas in rollback netcode, it basically runs a separate instance of the game where it predicts what you're going to do, and it has a rollback buffer. So say it's 3 frames.
Yeah.
So it will assume that you have pressed this button. And for those 3 frames, the game will go on assuming you've done that. In the case that you did not press that button and it receives that information during those 3 frames, your character may make a very quick movement to do the button that you did, but because it's 3 frames, it's going to be very unnoticeable for the vast majority of people. So the game's never stopping and starting in the same way that you have with delay-based netcode. It's going to be very fluid. There might be some like quick jumps between like characters, but because you're working within, say, 3 frames and the game is running at 60 frames a second, people aren't really going to notice that. So it does make a very large difference in terms of the online experience for fighting games.
That sounds mental, because like even I don't know what I'm going to press next.
So does it assume that I always play bad?
No, of course not. The explanation I gave, I just want to say that is a very watered down explanation, because I do not know. I don't make rollback netcode, so I'm not going to pretend I am an expert on rollback specifically.
No,
but I think this is the first time that I really understood what it actually means. Kind of.
And same for me actually as well, because I think the netcode's been talked about a lot publicly, and I know there's been a lot of people jumping on it saying it's going to suck, it's going to be rubbish because it's not got rollback in it, and there's been a bit of hyperbole, which I know we get a lot on the internet these days anyway, but actually really for me, on my personal experiences, I've had maybe 1 or 2 games that were a bit laggy, but the rest were pretty solid overall actually. But that explanation of how and why I can understand it, and I think people are jumping on a bandwagon a little bit without actually understanding the differences between the two. So that explanation that Blessy's given is really helpful to sort of for me to understand that, because I'm sat here from a completely non-technical point of view going, I don't care, I just want to play the game.
Yeah, of course.
Yeah. I think it's easy enough to understand delay-based netcode. Rollback is a little bit different. So yeah, I really appreciate that, Blessy. Yeah, thank you. But I agree. My experience has been smooth most of the time. I've had a couple of not so great experiences, but they were, the minority of my matches. I had a almost unplayable match with someone yesterday, but other than that, even those with a little bit of delay weren't that bad. So yeah.
it ties in with the PlayStation Plus in a lot of ways in terms of the online experience, because I don't know about any of you. I mean, Rav, you've probably heard me go on about Ethernet cables enough times. You've read enough of my tournament posts. Don't want to be playing fighting games with Wi-Fi. I have to wash my hands every time I say the word Wi-Fi because it scares me that much. But obviously, you have people coming through on PlayStation Plus and they're downloading the game for free. They might not even play fighting games at all, and they wouldn't know that, you know, playing a fighting game on Wi-Fi is a very, very bad idea. Or they're a masochist. It's one of the two. I'm not sure which. So they'll go online and they'll play on Wi-Fi and they'll get these unbearable connections. Because even with rollback, you can't fix something that's broken in terms of packet consistency and jitter. Like, you can't do anything about that. It's going to exist. Rollback just kind of helps smooth it out a bit. So people are going online, they're playing games and being like, "Oh, this online is awful," and then they'll close the game and never go on it again because they're a very casual player, not knowing that they probably should have plugged an Ethernet cable in. And then someone will say, "But I'm not close enough to the routers." It's like, get power line adapters. I'm telling you, I'm going to stop before I go off on Wi-Fi because I don't want to upset. I don't like Wi-Fi. I don't like Wi-Fi at all.
That ship has sailed, but sure.
Okay, so if you take anything out of this episode of the SEGA Lounge is Wi-Fi must die.
Yes, that's exactly it. Thank you.
Hashtag cancel Wi-Fi.
Yes, please. Oh God.
Oh, very good. Yeah, but mostly I think most people's experiences have been okay, right? Unless they're in places with less relay servers, just like Blessy explained. So, yeah. Excellent. I think we're about to wrap up things here. So I think people got a feel for our thoughts about the game. Just one more thing before I let you guys go wild and talk about whatever you want. But music, thoughts on the music, by the way.
Cool. This is my area of expertise. But if anyone got strong feelings they'd like to air about the game's music, go for it.
I'll keep it brief. I think the music's excellent. It was a nice sort of throw in as well to see sort of some of the old tracks remixed. But Virtua Fighter, actually, I didn't realise I was putting the pre-roll together for our stream on Monday, and I was going through the music through all the games, and actually, you forget how bloody good the soundtrack is for Virtua Fighter as a whole franchise.
Mm-hmm.
It's really, really good, and I think Ultimate Showdown just maintains that consistency, and I think it's, from a personal standpoint, I think it's really, really good.
They fixed the sampling rate in Final Showdown because it was an Xbox Live release on digital only. It was limited to 2 gigabytes, so you had all these very compressed audio files, and now it's actually all proper sample rate, so it sounds amazing. I'm going to say one more thing about it before I stop. Rav, have you found the code to get Virtua Fighter Kids soundtrack on
I
Beta?
saw it posted somewhere. Yeah, I haven't
Say
tried it
what?
myself.
I didn't know this.
So if you choose the Virtua Fighter 2 soundtrack, it's something about holding the options button while you do it or something. It changes to the Virtua Fighter Kids one.
Ooh.
Blessy can explain the finer details about holding the options button and stuff, but I don't remember those.
I don't remember how to do it. I was just I know it exists, and that's enough for me.
Yes, it's brilliant. So yeah, like I am of the opinion that every single Virtua Fighter soundtrack has been brilliant so far, from the first one to Final Showdown. And for those who are not aware of it, the soundtracks for Virtua Fighter 4 and Virtua Fighter 4 Evolution are completely different. And the same applies in all Virtua Fighter 5 games so far. This is the fourth completely new Virtua Fighter 5 soundtrack there is. There was the first one, then R, then Final, and then now Ultimate. And I think it keeps up to the same standard. Really, I haven't heard the tracks like by themselves, like completely separate from everything else. That they haven't come out, I think. But there is one that I find brilliant, and this is gonna tie in with the IGN trailer that came out like a couple of not a couple of days, but like 5 days before the game actually came out, which I thought was amazing, because I'm not sure about you guys, but I watched that trailer like 50 times, no joke, and tears just came to my eyes, every single one of them, because it felt really emotional. Like the video producer, the editor, whoever decided on how to build that video is also a genius, not just the marketing guy who decided this game would go out for free.
Give that man a raise as well.
Yes, exactly. Raises for everyone. Yeah, that song was amazing, and when I heard it, I was like, this is probably Leon's theme, because it was just in the same mood as all the other Leon themes from Virtua Fighter 5, and it turns out it was. And yeah, and if you are not a fan of the Ultimate Showdown soundtrack, if you got the legendary DLC pack, you can just choose whichever you'd like, which is a feature that Final Showdown already had, by the way. And I think it wasn't part of any DLC. I think you had it just through the main game, that you could just choose any other previous games as.
Mm-hmm.
It's interesting. I just went for Virtua Fighter 2 as one of my first things, just going for that bit of nostalgia kick, really. I didn't realise they actually remade. So is that for every single stage they remade the music for Virtua Fighter 5 4 times?
Yes, it is.
Yes.
Crazy.
Yeah.
That's a testament to whoever's in charge of the music development. That's cool.
Yeah, I'm a fan of Eileen's stage. I've always been a fan of Eileen's theme. Not really a fan of Eileen
Okay,
as a character, but
that's good.
I like her theme, her song. So yeah, this one I love as well. Any other thoughts on the music? It's good, right? Thumbs
Yes,
up from
it's good.
Yeah,
for everyone.
it's
Yes,
unanimous.
okay.
Exactly.
Seal of
with
approval.
with it
Seal of
having
approval.
every soundtrack, you can't go too far wrong, can you? Really?
No.
Yeah, that's true. That's true. But even just talking about the specific tracks to Ultimate Showdown, great stuff. Very very good stuff indeed. Really enjoy it. Yes. Raf.
I was just going to say that I am really looking forward to listening to them by themselves without having to be in game.
Yeah, definitely. Yeah.
They are releasing a soundtrack, aren't they?
They are, yeah. They're releasing a CD, aren't they? And
CD
T-shirt and everything
soundtrack,
else
yeah.
with it.
Yeah, it's coming out at the 24th, I think. But yeah, it's late in this month. It's like 20 something June.
That'd be cool.
Excellent. So I think this would be a good time. We're close to wrapping up. This would be a good time for people not familiar with what's included in the Legendary Pack DLC, which is the thing that actually costs money. So apart from your PS Plus subscription, obviously, you have to pay for that separately. But you get the game, the base game, for free, and then you'll get some cool stuff for I don't know. I think it's $9.99 in dollars and euros. I think, not sure about pounds.
It's
I think it's
£9.99.
£9.99. Yeah.
Really? Okay, that's interesting.
They
So
always
you
do
get
that though.
Yeah, every time.
yeah, yes,
It's usually less pounds than it is for the rest, though.
that
If it's $10, then it's usually £8.
$8.99 or something. Yeah. Okay, but cool. So $9.99 all around for people. Yay! Let's celebrate. And so you get some character customization items. Apparently over 2,000, if I'm not mistaken. Character costumes, the original Virtua Fighter character models, stages, the UI as well. The original Virtua Fighter UI is also available. All, as we were just mentioning, all original Virtua Fighter series BGM. So every single piece of every single. I'm not sure. It is. Is it everything? Because some of the stages are not in the original, so I'm not sure what they did with those.
What do you mean?
So, for example, Eileen is not a
Oh,
character.
right. Yes.
Virtua Fighter 1, for example. So
I
what
think
did they do with that?
there are a few
Like reused?
tracks. Yeah, they reuse songs from that album. For example, I remember playing on Jan's stage with the Virtua Fighter 2 soundtrack active, and it played Jackie's instead, for example.
Okay. Yeah. Okay. And you also get the stamps, the spectator stamps. So when you're like in a room and you're watching other people play online, you can use the stamps like thumbs up and little chibi versions of the characters and stuff. So yeah, just
I did think that was a
something
cool feature,
interesting.
actually, that you can just
Yeah.
tune into anyone's match. You find them in
Yeah.
the lobby and you can just spectate. I don't know if that was in a previous version, but I like that. Is that a live feed on the on the main menu? Is that
It
someone
is.
playing? That's really cool that you can just turn the game on and just start watching someone play.
Is it live or just recorded matches?
It's recorded, I believe.
It's recorded, yeah.
Okay.
People were
'Cause
watching
I've
one
seen,
of my
I've seen
games.
the timestamps. Some of them are like from yesterday or something.
Yeah,
Depending
I think
on-
someone was watching mine this afternoon, and I played it like a few hours before or something. So
Oh, so it's still an actual fight. It's not live. It could be.
Yeah,
Yeah.
but it
previous,
is
yeah.
an actual fight. You can actually see the names of the players as well.
How do they choose which battles are gonna make the cut?
I'm not too sure, to be honest. I haven't quite figured it out yet. I'm
That one-
assuming by ranks, most likely.
Yeah, I mean, yeah, because most of those I've seen are between high ranked people. Sometimes not on the top, but still relatively high ranked. So that match of yours, they said they watched. Was it a particularly close one, or was it against someone who was on the top? Or
It was a particularly close one, yeah. It was against a Shun player, apparently, and if it's the one I was thinking of, I think it went down to the last round. So I think they're choosing games that are close. I think like the criteria is have it be high level and have it be close. I think that's what they're looking for when they're putting on, because obviously those are going to be the most exciting ones. It's
So
not
no
going to
one's
be very
watching
exciting
my
having.
embarrassing matches.
No, like no excellence.
Yeah.
but that's a feature that comes in handy. I've already learned like a couple of Brad combos from watching Brad players who could run circles around me.
Yeah, and it's just easy to access, right? So you're in the main menu, you just press L1 and you can
Full
get
screen,
Yeah.
so
to
much.
full screen. Yeah, it's excellent.
That ties in with the whole esports.
yeah.
I wonder if
exactly.
they'll host like a live tournament there, if there is one in play, kind of thing. That'd be
That would be fun.
pretty
Oh,
cool.
Yeah.
good idea. Yeah. Excellent. So we'll just have to wait and see what the tournament mode will be like. Was it's just like ranked tournaments? Will it be private tournaments? Will they
Those
actually
already
do
exist.
something with? Yeah, you can create a room and create a tournament.
Just a quick question about like the netcode and stuff. If say there is a big match that's live and everyone's spectating in that room, is that going to cause additional lag or?
That would be the reason that they're not live, I think, because it's going to be bad enough if you have the two people playing watching the game, but then all of a sudden if you have 5,000 people watching the game as well, directly from that feed. Like I know whenever we played in Final Showdown, if you had more than 4 people in a room, like they'd be spectating the match that was going on, but it would actually make the room more laggy. Like, and the game would be more laggy, even though it's just people spectating.
I mean, say for example they did do that. There's a live tournament going on. It's on the front screen of everyone's menu, and everyone's watching at the same time. It just feels like Blessy was saying, if 5,000 people had suddenly tuned into one game, it's going to cause additional lag. You'd have thought.
It would have to be rooted. You'd need a. It's like if someone was streaming it. If someone was streaming
Yeah.
the tournament, you just do it like that. That would probably be the way around it. Not
Mm.
actually think
That
about
makes
it.
sense. Yeah.
Mm-hmm. Okay, so guys, any final thoughts? Anything we haven't covered that you guys would like to share on your thoughts about this game? I think it's been a lot of fun personally to spend these last few days playing the game, actually properly playing a Virtua Fighter game for the first time for me, getting more into it, and the whole hype in the community around this game is, I think, brilliant. hopefully it's brilliant for people who are longtime fans of the series as well, seeing all these newcomers and people excited about the game. But would you guys like to share anything else that we probably haven't covered or anything?
Yeah, I mean, I've been enjoying it the past 2 nights as well. I played a good 2 hours last night, and it's honestly, I haven't played a game where I've like shouted at the screen for ages. It's some of the matches I was having last night were quite infuriating. Like, I just started, actually streamed on Monday, and I was watching Matt mostly, and then we had a couple of games at the end. And that was my first time playing the game, Ultimate Showdown. And then last night was my first time actually playing the game myself. And like normally, I'd probably just play arcade mode on Virtua Fighter games. I'm not really the online type, but I played ranked matches, and the first two, I think I lost, and then I started getting into it because I've been following through the tutorial. I was started to block, etc., and then I think I went on like an 8-match winning spree, and then lost a game, and then went on like another 4 winning spree, and I got to like first Dan, and you start. I started feeling like I was actually a good player of Virtua Fighter. I was thinking, I'm bloody Ryo Azuki getting the first Dan and just beat the golden dragon, whatever his name is, in Bailu Village. That's how I felt at the time. And then as soon as I hit first Dan, that's when I started swearing. Some words I haven't said for ages. It must just, as soon as you hit first Dan, the caliber of player just suddenly it was matchmaking me with people that were like 9th Dan, 13 Dan or something, and I just that was my limit.
I'm going to tell you, I'm not seeing myself streaming this game, to be honest, because I first of all, if I actually end up doing it, I will turn off my camera because I've realized that my whole body language, my facial expressions, it wouldn't work. It wouldn't work. And then I want to keep my streams safe for work.
PG-13.
Exactly.
Well, just one question to Blessy. Now that we are talking about matchmaking, have you noticed if there's any kind of elo, like hidden elo, that interferes with matchmaking, or is it just a regular one with your level? Because so I played ranked games for the first time today. I beat like 5 people who were beginners, and then out of nowhere, it gave me like a guy that was like a 6th Dan with 70 wins and 10 losses, and well, okay then. And
There are some issues with the matchmaking. I'm barbarian rank, which is quite high up, to be fair. That's like above the Dans and everything. Like, for the time being, that is, when I finished playing today, I was the highest ranked Go in Europe. And I was getting matched with 10th queue players, so people who are effectively unranked, who literally had not played a single ranked game. And I'm there with over 120 ranked games myself. And it's their first time playing the game in ranked, and they get me. It's
Scary.
Rip.
yeah, it's questionable. And in terms of the connection of people that you get ranked with, where they're from, it's all very, there's no indicator of where people are from or anything like that. So there are things that need to be addressed, but I wouldn't count on it matching you with people similar skill level. Maybe when there's more people, when the ranks have kind of diversified a bit and people have had time to play, maybe then it'll be
Did
better.
anyone get matched with that guy that's got? When I played him earlier, he had 300 matches he'd played, but he was just Akira and he was just hopping back and like ring outing. What was going on
Yeah.
there?
So when you play up until Hunter rank, which is rank 21, you will earn points even if you lose. So obviously, if he plays 300 games and jumps out the ring and doesn't have to play, he will inevitably hit that rank. So it's like a bot. I've seen 3 bots today. I've seen one person doing that, and the others have literally just been mashing P, but not like an individual sitting there pressing the button. Like it's an actual script, it seems. So
Interesting.
I
came
I
up
got one
against
of those as well.
Yeah,
The
I did.
smashing kick all the time.
Yeah, it's a
Is that a bad thing then? Because if he's constantly losing, what's his end game role kind of thing? What does he want out of the game?
well, he'll still level up to rank 20.
So he doesn't mind his record, but when he comes back home at night, if he's been at work all day, he's a high rank.
And he doesn't know how to play the game still, so it's a bit useless really. Because then
Yeah, it's strange, isn't it?
People are straight. People do it in lots of games, and I don't really understand. But to each their own, I suppose. I mean, for me, it was some free points, the little points that I get from beating people who never played ranked before. But I'll
Yeah.
take it.
Yeah, it made me look a little bit better as well.
Okay. Rev, any final thoughts before we wrap this up?
If you are listening to this show and you haven't played Virtua Fighter 5 yet and you've got a PlayStation either 4 or 5, just go play it, please.
Yeah. That's great advice.
To enjoy the game, or
Yeah.
just like extra fodder for you?
Both. I mean, every single, not necessarily fodder for me, but every single user that launches the game counts for the stats and might motivate Sega into making Virtua
Yeah.
Fighter 6. So just do it.
Definitely.
I don't care if you like it or if you rate it. Just go for it. No, I joke. People
Even
are,
if you
are
hate
gonna
it,
love
keep playing. You have to.
Sega Lounge Advice 2021.
No. Rev is going full on Segata Sanshiro. You must play Virtua Fighter 5 Ultimate Showdown.
Exactly.
Yeah. Okay. Matt, anything else you'd like to add?
I just like to echo what's already been said. I think if you're a Virtua Fighter fan coming back, or you're a new player, get behind this game, because at the end of the day, it's all going to count towards a Virtua Fighter 6. And I think Ultimate Showdown has that perfect balance. It's easy to pick up, but difficult to master. And I think that's the essence of Virtua Fighter. So get behind it, play it, enjoy it, because if we don't, then we won't see another one. So let's get behind this game.
No pressure. Yeah. If you listener, if you don't play it, we'll never get another Virtua Fighter game. Ever. Think about that. How can you go to sleep at night without playing the game? No pressure. Okay. Blessy.
Please don't use Wi-Fi. That's all I ask of you. Please get an Ethernet cable. Like, think about me when you're playing. Please don't use Wi-Fi. No one likes anyone who uses Wi-Fi. If you know someone using Wi-Fi, give them a cable. I don't care if it's not their birthday yet. Give them a cable, please.
Let's start a petition to get
Ban
everyone
Wi-Fi.
to use. Yeah, ban Wi-Fi. Get everyone to use cables.
Give me a
wrap them
Wi-Fi
cable.
indicator so I can decline every Wi-Fi match, please. That's it.
Yes.
That's second
Yes.
best. I'll take it.
Incoming patch. Okay. Okay, so guys, thank you very much for joining me. It was fun. It was fun. It was informative, and I learned a lot. So a lot of Sega education as well, Virtua Fighter education, and even some kind of netcode education as well from Blessy. So thank you very much, Blessy, for that.
Serve me.
As usual, all the links to all these amazing people will be in the show notes. So do check them out. And keep listening, because when we come back, we'll talk about a giveaway. So we're going to give away a couple of codes for the game, courtesy of Sega. Bye, guys. Thank you very much.
Thanks,
Thanks,
Casey.
Casey.
Thank you, Casey.
And that's it. I hope you enjoyed our thoughts on the game and the two main takeaways from this entire conversation. Go play Virtua Fighter 5 Ultimate Showdown and use a wired connection. A quick note about Blessy's involvement in the Virtua Fighter community. As you heard, he is a tournament organizer for both EU-based and global events. And speaking of global events, Virtua Fighter Global Showdown is an international tournament taking place during the fourth quarter of 2022. The tournament will feature a top 8 from Europe, North America, and Japan, and is currently crowdfunding flights for qualifying players. The first qualifiers will be taking place during the third quarter of 2021. If you want to find out more about this tournament and or get involved, follow @GlobalVF on Twitter, @GlobalVF. Finally, it's time to talk about our giveaway. Courtesy of SEGA of America, we are giving away 2 codes for both the base Virtua Fighter 5 Ultimate Showdown game and the Legendary Pack DLC, which includes 2,000 types of customization options, 19 types of character costumes, all 38 types of original Virtua Fighter characters, original Virtua Fighter stages, the original VF Battle user interface, and all 180 tracks from previous Virtua Fighter games soundtracks. Plus, 36 types of spectator stamps. We're giving away 1 code for our North American listeners and 1 code for our European/PAL listeners. All you have to do is to go to your region-appropriate link and follow the instructions. Entries close on June 7th at 11:59 p.m. UK time, and I will be reaching out to the winners shortly after. To enter the North American raffle, go to thesegalounge.com/VFNA. thesegalounge.com/VFNA. To enter the European or PAL region raffle, go to thesegalounge.com/VFEU. thesegalounge.com/VFEU. Best of luck to everyone entering, and again, thank you very much to SEGA of America and to our good friend Danny Russell for their generosity. That's it for this week's show. I hope you enjoyed the episode. Next week's show will feature a very special guest, and believe it or not, we'll also talk a bit about Virtua Fighter, so don't miss it. That said, there should be a shorter episode coming out in the next few days, so keep your eyes on your podcast apps and our social media for news on that. Have a wonderful week, stay safe, and I'll see you all next time. Bye-bye! The SEGA Lounge, hosted by me, KC, and part of Radio Sega's network of live shows and podcasts. Theme song and incidental music by OSC. Find them at opussciencecollective.bandcamp.com. Got any suggestions? Drop me an email to podcast@thesegalounge.com. Follow us on Twitter @thesegalounge and like us at facebook.com/thesegalounge. You can find previous episodes of the show by going to thesegalounge.com and wherever fine podcasts are downloaded. A Mixed On Productions podcast.